Hello and welcome to The Beats. I'm your host, Kelly Kennedy, and The Beats is brought to you by NOTMEDS, naturally oriented therapists, medically enlightened doctors and specialists, where our mission is to help others gain the knowledge that their own inner beauty and their own inner wisdom is the only thing that heals. We are here to help you naturally optimize a better version and vision of yourself on all levels. We do this and help you accomplish this through education and serving the public by offering 2 wellness devices available to practitioners to allow that experience, that encounter to be just you and your own inner beauty. Further, we align clients with practitioners that are NOTMEDS, naturally oriented therapists, medically enlightened doctors and specialists. And together we help them facilitate and aid their body on a customized basis to help them upregulate and regenerate their ecosystems. So listen in each week as you will discover and be empowered by learning the secrets of the missing links and the wonder and delight of how simplistic natural ways of living allow for our body to heal. We have evidence in empirical, clinical, and personal experience, and our documentation will all be listed here in show notes as we converse throughout the next hour, hour and a half through this episode of The Beats. We are here to help bridge that gap between knowing that the physical, the emotional, and the vibrational components of the body all need to be addressed, and mostly to learn how to be a human being. We take modern technology combined with the ancient wisdom here on The Beats from our heart to yours to help inspire, conjure, and facilitate your journey back to you. Wherever you are, wherever you come from, and wherever you are planning on going, we are so honored for you to spend this time with us today. We appreciate your attention today and always. Please hit the notification button so as to never miss an episode. Thank you so much for sharing today's episode if you feel so inclined to. Now, find a comfortable seat, grab a cup of tea or a glass of water, open a window, take a deep breath, sit back and relax. Welcome to The Beats, from our heart to yours. For more information about this and other offerings, please go to NOTMEDSGlobal.com. You can follow us on Instagram at NOTMEDS Global and sign up for our newsletter to stay in the flow of life. Welcome back to Beats with Kelly Kennedy, and today I am Kennedy. So this is a little different twist on the Beats today because Ian's been up to a lot of new things. I've been up to a lot of new things. So we decided to interview each other.
Okay.
So first I want to talk about Ian and what he has, we've been in practice for 18 years. He's been doing this work for 9 years beyond that. Mm-hmm. So do the math, that's 27 years he's been in this industry. And he doesn't like this joke, but I'm going to say it anyway. Ion, for those scientists, is a charged particle. And ion is the charged particle that helps you in so many ways on the vibrational level, on the emotional level, and on the physical level. He's worked on all those realms to help people restore, maintain, and enhance their true wellness. And I kid you not, when he came up with that name, it was within 30 seconds of starting True Wellness.
It's true.
I said, okay, you're going to open up your own practice finally. What do you want to name it? And you said?
True Wellness.
And I said, well, what's our, that's perfect. And then I said, what's our tagline? And like 5 minutes later, you said,
restore, maintain, enhance your health.
Yes. And what I figured out over the last 3 months in trying to put our practice into a virtual program is I'm like, that is exactly what we've done. We've helped people restore, maintain, or enhance their true wellness, but we've done it on 3 levels, on a physical level, on an emotional level, and a vibrational level. And I think the work you've done in the energetics with the vials, with the emotional work you've done, with the chakra work you've done, tuning forks, all of that, you've always done hand-to-hand muscle testing people, and you've kind of been opposed to machines.
Yeah, that's true.
You've always been like, hey, hands-on is how you help people. And that was
true. Yeah,
It is.
that's true.
And we could talk about my story and how you were the first physical practitioner that touched me and asked me where my pain was and said, is it here or here? I cried, and that began my healing.
Right.
So tell them a little bit, maybe if you want, about that, or, you know, what you're doing now and how that's changed for you a little bit, how your practice has changed since, when was it, March?
I'm not sure. I guess it was March.
I think it was March or May.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I think the biggest change came, I've been doing Dr. Devi Nampudrapad's work for a long time with the radionic vials, which is really just a vibrational signature for the person. It kind of incites their autonomic nervous system to find out whether that vibration harmonizes with the personal vibration that they are, because everything is an energy, a frequency, and a vibration. And so when two vibrations come in contact with each other, the living vibration has an immediate reaction to whether or not that allows energy to continue to flow through my system. And if it does not allow energy to flow through my system through a simple muscle test, let's say, what it's telling us is that the body doesn't recognize that. And it is a natural response for the system to shut down that electrical energy, the chi, right? The life force that moves through our body. It shuts that down a little bit so that that vibration that it doesn't recognize doesn't interfere with my organ function. Okay, so practitioners like Dr. Devi Nampudrapad discovered that you could introduce a vibration to a person, and if it shut their nervous system down, if it shut that energy down, there was a way to reintroduce that vibration to the person so that suddenly that vibration did not shut that energy frequency down, and therefore allowed the body to have a little less stress in relationship to an immune response, because her concept was that every time a vibration shuts my electrical system down, it interferes with my immune system's ability to look at what really is an issue, as opposed to vitamin C or vitamin B or things that we should absorb that are good for us. If those things shut our system down, it shows that the immune system is not focusing on things that it really should. It's focusing on, for instance, foods.
So can we unpack the vibration thing for a minute? Like, you're talking about vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin B. How do you test the vibration in this technique that you've talked about with the Devi Nampudrapads? How do you access vibrations?
So the way, well, in the beginning, we would put food in baby jars and have the person actually hold the food.
In the beginning, what he means is 27 years ago when he started this work.
Yeah, there were no energetic vials.
There were no energetic vials. So they took the substances
that people were sensitive to. We'd have people bring in different things that they felt they were sensitive to.
And they put them in glass. Why glass?
Because glass allows a frequency to move through it. Much better than plastic or other things.
Okay.
So once that vibration is introduced to the person, you do a simple muscle test, right? Which is what we were doing to find out, does electricity flow through the body? If it doesn't, then there was a couple of ways, techniques that you could reintroduce that vibration so that the body understood it. The way I've always looked at it is, if it shuts my nervous system down, it means that my body is blind to that frequency. It doesn't really see it, and therefore it can't harmonize with it. So it's really about getting the body to see that frequency appropriately.
And harmonizing. So let's talk about that from a musical perspective, right? So everything is a vibration, everything's a frequency.
Yeah.
But explain your work in regards to music. He's also a musician. He's like talented beyond belief. But
well, for instance, I think everybody knows this, but you can take tuning forks. And if you have a tuning fork that's tuned to C, the note C, and you have several tuning forks that are different notes, C, D, E, F, G, but you put a C and a D and a C, and you strike the C note, the C tuning fork, this other C note will also start to vibrate. They harmonize suddenly, but the D won't. So, you know, that's really an understanding of harmonization in relationship to frequencies or vibrations. If you take clocks on a wall and you have 12 different clocks on a wall and they all have you know, well, not a metronome, but actually just the, you know, the arm that went back and forth for tick tick, the pendulum, and you swing one and you start to swing them in all different directions, pretty soon they'll actually all start swinging in the same direction at the same time. So there is a law of frequency and harmonization. And that's really what we're trying to do with the body.
So essentially your technique that you've employed for all these years with allergy elimination is, does this frequency harmonize, or does it make like chaotic noise that doesn't sound good, like Kelly trying to learn to play the violin?
Yeah, it's just a disharmony.
A disharmony.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it's just not matching that frequency anymore. And our bodies first respond to frequency, whether that's a substance that you're touching, whether it's a food you're putting in your mouth, whether it's a thought that you have in your mind. Your body responds first to that frequency, and it makes a decision. Does this allow energy to flow through my body appropriately, or does it shut the energy down for some reason, which is a self-defense mechanism? The body's trying to protect itself. But if it's protecting itself from things that we should ingest or thoughts that we really should hold, right? The idea that I'm a good person or I'm worthy of good things, then it causes a disharmony. And when there's a disharmony, there's a conflict. And when there's a conflict, there's a stressor. And that starts to break the system down, whether it's physical stress or an emotional stress or a mental stress or even an energetic stress. We want those things to be harmonized and as strong for the person as possible.
And from an autonomic nervous system perspective, correct me if I'm wrong, but when that doesn't harmonize and the body's going, oh, protect itself, it's now in a sympathetic mode.
Yeah.
Versus a parasympathetic mode of like everything water off a duck's back, everything's just going in and out, everything's flowing. So if things are harmonizing, even if it's like arsenic or Roundup that I've walked through some grass that's been treated, if I'm in a regulatory perspective, if I harmonize, even with something that's negative, what does that mean? If I
means that the stress that I believe it means that the stress of that substance is a little less on the body, but you're only dealing with that frequency, which ultimately is information. And at the very base level, what we really are information. Okay. So it's information that we're really dealing with that is going through the body. And it's the first thing that the body responds to is this information that's coming in. So, I look at the physical body and the emotional body and the mental body and the energetic body as levels of information that's being passed through the system. So the food that we eat is information to our body as well. And we don't want those positive things to be shutting our system down. We want that information to be accepted. Now, if we're talking about Roundup, or if we're talking about some substance that isn't good, like arsenic that comes out of the ground, I still want to harmonize with that, because if I harmonize with it, it's going to be a little less impactful. It doesn't mean I should drink it or eat it, but it's going to be, at least that initial information for the body is not shut down around it.
And like you said before, like how long is that going to last that I harmonize with it? Right. So I get treated for Roundup. Let's say I'm having an issue with it. I walked out my grass. I got a rash all over my feet.
Okay.
And then I come in and you harmonize me with Roundup. How long is that going to last?
Until you break it again.
And what does that mean, Ian, until I break it again?
What that means really is that if you get overexposed again, over and over and over, the system's going to crash.
So now, if
I've seen it in both ways, quite honestly. There's been times where we've done that with folks or done that with myself, and I still got exposed and I didn't crash, and it was okay. And then there's been other times where it would. So it depends on the person, it depends on the substance. But ultimately, I think the way to answer that is diversity is the thing that we want, especially with our diets, especially with different substances, because then the body doesn't get inundated. And one of the things that I was taught a very long time ago, no matter what we're eating, like, a lot of people think bananas are good for us. Let's just pick bananas for a second. However, if you were to eat a banana every single day for 40 days, I'll guarantee you will have a vibrational sensitivity to that banana. Doesn't mean it's not good for you, but it will shut your energy down. And so that's kind of the baseline in regards to, well, I'll eat a banana once in a while, and I'll eat an orange once in a while. I'll have some grapes sometimes. I'll do some veggies of different kinds, but I'm not going to have a diet that is so restricted that I eat the same things day in and day out, because you absolutely will create what we consider a sensitivity to those things, which is a vibrational sensitivity to it.
And I had a thought when you were saying all that. Hold on, we'll come back to me. You were saying, Oh, because of the rigidity, right? So what we want is flexibility. What your technique allows is diversity, variety, flexibility. You know, Dr. Drobot and I just got off the phone, our good friend of 18 years or so we've known him.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know, nobody laid on their deathbed and said, and this is coming out next week, so listen to it. But he said, nobody laid on their deathbed and said, I ate keto for 27 years. I never had a slice of pizza and I only watched TV for 1 hour a day. Wow, did I live a great life.
Right.
And, you know, I think that is what you have been teaching me in so many ways out the years is flexibility. You know, I was so rigid getting a good HRV, and yet you were always beating me until recently over the last couple of years because I was living so rigid. I would only eat the food that was good for me. I would exercise every day religiously. I would meditate every day. And he was like, oh, she works really hard at being. And it was like Ian could eat whatever he wanted, and maybe he would sleep a long time, and maybe he wouldn't, and maybe he would exercise, and maybe he wouldn't, and you know, he would like come in and out. And I'm like, dude, why is your HRV always good? And you're 16 years older than me, and you look great, and you haven't really aged other than this white beard you've decided to grow.
Yeah.
And that's because of flexibility in his regulation and harmonization with the life, because he's not rigid in those ways.
Yeah, I agree. And I think most people are really, really hard on themselves, and they expect certain things, and they think if they do certain things, they're going to get certain things. And life just does not happen in a linear way. It just doesn't. It looks like it might, but it just doesn't. And so I think, yeah, the more flexible we are, of course, even in the physical body, the more flexible you are, the younger you are. I mean, think about the little kids, right? Little kids are flexible. They do all kinds of weird things with their legs. I've been watching Silas pull his legs around, and I'm like, dude, don't do that to your knee. But he doesn't feel it because he's super flexible at 8 years old. As we get older, what happens? Everybody notices you become less flexible, less physically flexible. And that's a sign of aging. So there's lots of different ways you can maintain flexibility. I honestly believe that Hatha yoga is a great way to keep the physical body very flexible. You want to keep your emotional and your mental body very flexible, so that rigidity is something that is really not affecting us. And I had an encounter once with a gentleman who was in his late 80s, who was a martial arts instructor from China. And his big demonstration was that he could take his feet and put one in one position and one right in the middle of the foot.
Oh, yeah.
And pull his big toe up, and then take his chin and put his chin on the bottom of his big toe. And that was the most flexible 89-year-old person I ever saw in my life. And his whole thing was flexibility is youth, rigidity is age. And so it doesn't really matter if you can stay flexible in all those ways. So from that, let's talk a second about what has happened in the office in regards to the way I'm doing this with people today.
I was just going to say, because he was rigid about, no, only people can heal people. Only people can heal people. Machines don't heal people. Machines don't work. And then we were exposed to this equipment. And I said, Ian, you really need to talk to the doctor that created this, because he too was trained in allergy elimination from Nampudrabad 30 years ago. You guys probably sat in the same class.
Yes, that's
talk
what he
to
said
Dr.
to
Straley.
Yes.
And then what happened?
Well, we had a conversation about the fact that he was trained the same way I was, and that he had done that for several years, I think 4 years, and using the vials, which is very powerful. And I've gotten great results with it over the years. And there's times where I still go back to the vials, depending on what's going on for the person. But he is a gentleman who has put together a device called the IMAET, which stands for Immune Modulation Allergy Elimination Technique System. And it's a stress reduction device. And it's a computerized device that is really a biofeedback machine. It is a radionic frequency device that picks up your frequency, gives us information about what frequencies you're pushing through your system, okay, that are affecting your system. And then we have an ability to choose how we want to reintroduce those frequencies to that person's body. So they're not holding vials anymore. What's wonderful is you can hook them up with harnesses on the device, or they can actually be done virtually. And I've helped folks de-stress with this device from as far away as New Zealand and Canada and Ohio and North Carolina and all over the place.
And that was another point of rigidity that for years, you know, we have clients that fly to come see us and then they want to follow up therapies and they want to do long distance therapies. And Ian has always been like, you can't treat people long distance. I mean, come on, I need a body. I need to tap on their back. I need to do this thing, whatever. I need to put light on their body. Enter the IMAET, and a couple situations happened in the first month that we had it. He wasn't willing to bring it into the office till we really tested it out. And we had a couple of practitioner friends that reached out to us to treat a couple of their clients. And then we had a couple of practitioner friends that wanted us to treat them and tell a couple.
And had absolutely stunning and amazing results that I really didn't expect. And my goal, quite honestly, when I got the device was to prove that it did not work. And so I did spend about 6 weeks with friends and practitioners who were volunteering for me to mess them up on this thing and find out if it really worked. And the results we had were quite amazing. Unfortunately, I even have a wonderful video of a young woman who had an allergic reaction. And within about 2 hours, it was completely gone. And we were 6 hours away from her at that time. So over that period of time, I was convinced that this thing actually works.
Oh, that was Dr. Avery's front desk person.
No, that was Dr. Pascal's friend.
Oh, that person. Oh, yeah.
Response.
Right.
So the bottom line is that, of course, and I've always known this and believed this, that time and distance really is not a factor when it comes to energetics and frequencies and vibrations. And the way this works is kind of like a radio station.
Yeah.
So it's the easiest way to understand it. Everyone tunes their radio to certain stations to listen to music they like or sports radio or whatever. So, you know, here in Harleysville, it's 97.5. I get to listen to my sports guys. That radio station is in Philadelphia. So it's maybe 50, 60 miles away. As long as I'm tuned to the right station, that radio station has the power to send a frequency through the air, hits my antenna, and I listen to what they're talking about. If I tune it just a little bit wrong, I don't get that information. Well, this device basically works in the same way. It's a receiver and a transmitter that sends information to the nervous system and allows that body to de-stress depending on whatever stressors show up on a scan. So it's changed my practice quite dramatically in a couple of ways. One, I'm able to do many more frequencies for a person than just one every 24 hours, which was kind of like the standard we were using to get the body to understand it. But this is so strong that I think—
and precise.
Yeah,
is the word I would use.
And it never, the frequencies never lessen. You know, there's issues with putting food in a jar at some point, right? Even if you cut vegetables in half, everybody knows when you start cutting the vegetable in half, it starts to degrade, right? So the frequency also starts to lessen. So what's wonderful about the computer device is that those frequencies are in there. They never deteriorate. And so that's wonderful. The other great thing is that I don't have to be exposed to hundreds of vials throughout the week that were really starting to affect my food allergies, quite honestly. And it's something that we were warned about back in 1992, 91, 92, that would happen if we didn't have practitioners constantly treating us. So it's been a real godsend as far as helping clients amazingly dramatically and also getting me away from the vials a little bit.
So I want to unpack, I want you to tell a couple stories of things that have happened with clients. But before we go there, I want to talk about when you were working with the vials and you didn't want to work with people long distance, my understanding of that was kind of like, well, it's their belief system. It's my belief system that, you know, we all are connected. We're all vibrations and, you know, you cannot escape vibration and we're not separate, but, you know, it's a bit of a leap to say to somebody, oh yeah, I'm treating you for apples over here. You're going to be fine.
Sure.
Now, two things. One is you can therapize them for apples and whatever, vaccine stress and EMFs and their mother's emotional crap all in one session.
Yeah.
Number one. Yeah. Number two, there's precision. You know, I remember Straley saying to you on that first phone call, and you saying this quite often, is like Straley said, I'm going to pull you out of the dark ages and into the 21st century, because the work you're doing, while it's brilliant to do it on a vibrational level and working with people from that level so that it affects their physiology,
right?
It's limited to you as a person doing one thing at a time and the body accepting that. Whereas this computer is so precise and you can send those vibrations far and wide because it is the transistor versus you being the transistor.
Right. And that's one of the things that I'd never thought of it. And during our conversation, he had said to me, do you realize that you've been the machine for these people all along? And I never looked at it that way. He said, but it's your nervous system. It's your autonomic nervous system saying to this autonomic nervous system, here's new information. This is new information. And he said, and Dr. Straley said, listen, I did it for 4 years. And then at one point I said, why should I be the machine when I can invent a machine to do this? And that's really what he did. And it's been absolutely, on a daily basis, blows my mind, continues to blow my mind in regards to the results we get. And some of the results have been quite dramatic. And I find that the sicker the person is on some level, the more dramatic the results are. And so we've had people dealing with Lyme disease that I would send frequencies to them in a long distance way. And they would contact us and say, wow, my whole body's itching from head to toe. I can tell that you're doing something to me. We had a situation.
That's a response. That's not a negative thing.
Yeah, it's a great response.
Remember that in bioregulatory medicine, we're looking to wake up the nervous system. It's like he said earlier, it's quiet. It can't see it. It's blind to it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to wake it up and go, hey, here's this vibration you're not paying attention to. And then through all the other remedies and different bioregulatory ways that we live, our bodies are primed to be able to now take that information and deal with the new thing it can see to help it get rid of it or utilize it properly or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So
that's one story.
So sure.
Let's talk about dystonia. Let's talk about his story.
So dystonia is a diagnosis that you don't want to have. It's a nervous system disorder. And it can strike kind of anywhere, quite honestly. I've seen it in the whole body of a person. I've also seen it just in the tongue of a person, but it's quite painful. If you can imagine having a Charlie horse in your calf, if you can imagine that pain in your tongue, it would be quite disturbing.
Or anywhere. It's
anywhere. It's just gripping, grabbing. And oftentimes if it gets really bad, it's a precursor to what looks like Parkinson's disease.
Or ALS.
Yeah. So unpleasant. We've had a couple of people with that situation. And very early on, I said, listen, I don't know if this is going to do anything for you or not, but we used the IMAET for these folks with dystonia and had absolutely remarkable results with it, mind-blowing results. But I want to jump to one that was very recent. Okay. We had a young woman who's been with the practice for quite a long time. And we've supported her in living a biological lifestyle. She's completely embraced that. And she found that she had cavitations. And she was going to have some surgery done on these cavitations.
Oh.
And so she asked me to run some IMAET on her, and I did. And what came up, quite honestly, was some weird bacteria that I'd never heard of before. And we had quite a list of them. And I said, hey, this is what's showing up in your system. And I'm going to send you frequencies and we'll see how you do. And then she went and had the surgery done. And when the surgery was over, there was a biopsy done of the cavitations,
of the tissue,
all the tissue that was
Dr. Caratola always does that because he wants to make sure that he's got, honestly, the proper antibiotic to deal with that. This is the one time that we believe in antibiotics for the dental procedure. So Dr. Caratola, who loves all of our work, was new to the IMAET as well.
Yep.
And this woman had been, the day before was when she had run the IMAET on the cavitational surgery.
What actually happened was I ran the IMAET on her and all of this crazy bacteria came up. And then she said to me, hey, I'm going to have this surgery done by Dr. Caratola and I'm going to have it done in 2 days. And he's going to do all 4 of them. And I want you to run it for me while I'm in the chair.
Right.
And I thought that was a brilliant idea.
Yes.
Even just to support her system, vibrationally support her system, because it's traumatic. And it's emotionally traumatic, right? And your body's going through a surgery.
And she traveled from Colorado to East Hampton to get this done and stopped here on the way in Philadelphia.
Right. So we ran the IMAET and I had a list of all the bacteria that really showed up for her. And we did therapy for that in regards to the frequencies that the machine could send to her system. It's a biofeedback machine. So it's sending these frequencies back to her so that her system says, oh, I actually have these bacteria. Then the surgery was done. And then the biopsy was done and it was sent to the labs.
Right.
And when the information came back, this young lady sat down with Dr. Caratola, and he had his list, and she is quite the note taker. And she had a list of all of the bacteria that I had read off to her that showed up in the machine. And 85% of the bacteria that the IMAET showed up, 85% of it was exactly the same bacteria that Dr. Caratola found physically in the cavitation. Yes. Yeah. Which was incredible. And she called me up and said, listen, I'm going to give you information about your IMAET. You're going to be really excited. And I was like, great. Did you feel it? Do you think you healed better? You know, did it take stress off your system while you were going through the surgery? And she was like, well, I don't know. I don't think so. But let me tell you what happened. And that's what she told me. And even Dr. Caratola was a little blown away by it and said, you know, wow, that's crazy to get 85% of the same thing.
The same assay, the same composition of the bacteria that I found in the IMAET was an 85% match to what Dr. Caratola found when he did a physical tissue analysis of that.
And a biopsy on it. And
biopsy.
Yep.
So
amazing.
That is just crazy. And there's so, like, listen, we're both scientists that want to believe it all, but are skeptical and need proof in the pudding. And one of the things I'm excited about in the next few months is being able to take it to the mat, if you will, for my martial artist husband here, take it to the mat from the perspective that while we know all that now I want to start to do CRTs, live blood analysis, HRVs, before and after IMAETs, to just show, for Dr. Straley, honestly, I want to do this, to show the evidence of the regulatory shifting by just one IMAET treatment and how it changes a CRT, HRV, and live blood. Yeah. So, you know, we're looking at research and development in a big way over the next 6 months. So look forward to those results and being able to document this in a bigger way, because what I know is that we make amazing results for people. We help people get amazing results and have for 18 years because of the knowledge that we have and because of the opportunity that we have. But I still think there's a fair amount of people that don't necessarily believe it until they see it, much like us, let's be honest. So while we experienced it clinically, now we're at the point where we're ready to take it to the mat and show it on a regulatory component, like how that's changing things. Because we know when you treat somebody like this on a vibrational level, as Dr. Pujapad proved, it takes 18 months to show it up in the blood, because it takes us 3 cycles of blood for the information to be fully taken into the system. Now that's maybe a little different with IMAET than it was with one vial at a time.
I think it will be. I think it really will be, because
and maybe we can work into blood test at some point.
Yeah,
because we now have that capacity.
It really is an amazing thing. So lots have changed, lots of things haven't changed. I still do plenty of muscle testing. We still do plenty of emotional work with folks, even though the IMAET can do some wonderful emotional work with people. So, you know, we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and I'm excited about you using this device. It's just another tool for us in the big toolbox that we've accumulated over the last 18 years. So,
and he's going to be doing a training on this too.
Yes.
So on September 25th, he's going to train. We've had quite a few clients as well as practitioners purchase this by just him using it on them, and I'm going, I want to buy this. And so you have that capacity to do that,
which is really great.
We firmly believe everybody should have one of these in their homes to treat their family. And then you sometimes still need a coach to show you how to use it, or a coach to help you through the process. And I want to say this for a second. Even Dr. Shirley said this, I'm taking this one turn out, but when I first got I have not used the IMAET at all. I've been on it, but I've not utilized it. I kind of understand it because he's explained it. Dr. Carolyn Flannery's explained it to me, and I can explain it enough to somebody to where the treatment protocol, I understand a little bit. Yeah. But even Straley said, the results you're getting, Ian, are far exceeding anybody else's results. And I want to say that's because he's the charged particle that understands how to do this on a level that most people don't, because that has been his core value and his, in so many ways for 30 years of this kind of therapy, is like, everything's a vibration. Let me just work your vibration. And now I don't have to be the computer. I got a computer that's way stronger than me. Right. So I'm just going to use that. And I think because of his energy behind it, it magnifies what this gives, because any practitioner can get good results with this, but I find his results are outstanding. And I've said it multiple times. If I was using that machine, I don't think I'd get the same level of results you're getting because of your intensity that you bring to it.
I think the intention has something to do with it. I also honestly believe that the education behind it has a lot to do with it, because I spent so much time in Dr. Devi's classes and I understand the body on that level.
Yeah.
That when skin shows up, for instance, I have a skin rash, it doesn't mean I'm just going to push the button for skin and keep treating skin. And I think that happens to a lot of folks. They chase a symptom. And so instead of
looking at the global, like, oh, well, that's an acupuncture meridian. What does skin mean?
Belly thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure. So the education behind it definitely has a lot to do with it. And that's why I'm excited to do this training, because I want to give a little deeper education in regards to how to utilize the machine and look at things in a broader way on some level. And then really give some explanation in regards to what shows up, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And especially for folks that have them at home, that are utilizing these for their family. It's just fantastic. And I want them to just be able to have the information and know how to do that.
That training's in like 3 weeks. 2 weeks or so from this podcast.
Okay.
And it's 5 hours. It's from noon to 5. It is in person here in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And it's going to be $199, but there's an early bird special. If you register with, I think it's by the 12th or something, then you get it for $150. Okay. And there should be a button down here that you can register for somewhere at the end of the podcast. So Great. Awesome. Look out for that. Okay, now the tables are turning.
Okay.
Turn it.
So I know everyone has noticed that, and some people felt that Kelly was on vacation for 3 months. And really what's happened is that we've come to a point where we realize that, it's the 2 of us or it's the 7 of us here in the office doing this. And how many people can we really impact? And I think over the last 17, 18 years, we've impacted a lot of people and a lot of families. And we have a nice core of folks that are attempting to live biologically, which is exciting. But the point is, how can we broaden this and really make a bigger impact? And it's not that we don't have people traveling from all over the place to come see us, but it's basically one person at a time. So Kelly decided that she was going to take a few months and create some amazing opportunities for a more of a global experience in regards to pushing the science of bioregulatory approach to health. And so that allowed NOTMEDS Global to be launched, as well as some other things. So give us an idea, were you on vacation for 3 months?
God, that cracks me
I've
up.
actually never seen her work harder, quite honestly. I've never seen her work harder or travel more over the last 3 months. And I know we've all missed her in the office, and I know clients have missed her, but it was done for a big reason. And the big reason is that we're trying to expand this to impact even more and more people.
So let me just back up a little bit. In March of 2020, when COVID hit, I thought we were going to have a 2-week vacation. And I was like, oh, I can finally put that podcast together that Heidi Sullivan, my very dear friend that we lost on January 23rd of 2020, had the idea that I should do.
Right.
She said, you're great in front of a camera. You're great at explaining concepts and complex ideas really simply. And you are really passionate about this. You should really start a podcast. So she put a web one page together for me for the podcast. She created The Beats with Kelly Kennedy, and From My Heart to Yours. That was her tagline. And that became my legacy, her legacy, and my honor to her. So Sarah had just started working for us, and I was like, Sarah, I don't know anything about the internet. I don't know anything about social media. Could you please help me put this podcast together? So we did. And, we've had a lot of fun with it. And I've been very blessed because of all of our colleagues and friends that have exposed me to this whole world. And enter Siobhan Sarna through Christine Schaffner, who said, hey, this woman's doing a lymph summit. And I was like, a lymph summit? What? Why did I think about a lymph summit? So I met Siobhan, and she's like, yeah, be part of my lymph summit. Well, she was excessively kind. She asked me to do something as a free gift, and I wrote a 29-page book about the foundations of the lymph, the 7 steps to lymph health. And that was a free gift that was downloaded by 69,000 people. And we were overwhelmed. The Lymph Summit came out, and I think the day after the Lymph Summit, we got here in the morning, there was 37 voicemails and 100 emails. And not only was I able to give that free gift out, I had a couple talks. We did a Q&A afterward. Many of the practitioners that were on it mentioned us because it was Dr. Caratola and Christine Schaffner and so many people that have flow prezos and call me the lymph queen. And so I was a bit overwhelmed, honestly, because as people started reading the book, as they started doing the manual stimulation, I was getting emails that were like, this has changed my life. How do I get to know more? I live in France. Right. I live in North Canada. I live in San Francisco, and it's COVID. I can't travel. Right. And I was stressed. I couldn't find practitioners in their area that knew what we knew. And very few and far between, I should say. And it became evident that while we were helping people at some level, there needed to be more information. But I don't know anything about sitting in front of a computer and creating content and putting together classes. And I knew that it was going to take a huge learning curve. And the one thing we've always taught you is that there's 4 stages of learning. I was excessively conscious of how incompetent I was in this world. And I knew that in order for me to maintain through the 4 stages of learning in a pretty rapid way, I had to inundate myself with it, which meant I had to take away from seeing clients for a few months so I could learn how to put a virtual program together. And as always, to this point in my life, I was excessively unrealistic with what that would take. I was like, oh, in 3 months, not only am I going to put a 6-month virtual program together, completely said and done, and be able to market it out to the world by the end of August, but I'm also going to convert our programs over so we can switch our software that we've been running True Wellness on so that we can allow people to schedule on their own. Yeah, I thought I could do that in 3 months. So about 2 weeks ago, I said to Ian, all right, I'm ready to go back see clients because this is going to take a year. This is not going to take 6 months. I want to start seeing clients now, but I'm still going to take a couple days a week and continue to do all this work and this content. So to that end, knowing that it's going to take me another 6 months, and I've got a lot of pressure from a lot of people across the globe that are like, hey, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Because while my local community didn't know thought I was on vacation, which cracks me up. I think I had 8 days though. We did have 8 days of wonderful vacation in South Carolina with Silas. Silas had a great vacation this summer. Yeah. Ian and I've never seen him travel back and forth and more. We were basically somewhere for 5 days at a time and then switch locations. Right. And he and I were like passing ships. Yeah. We're like, hey, how was that day? Did you enjoy our day together? Okay, you hang with Silas, I'm back at the office. So, while I wasn't seeing clients, I was still here quite a bit. He was back and forth. But my point was that I am just about to launch a 3-day mini cure. So let me back up. Why the cure? Because I have a brilliant husband, because I put together this program. And what I was keen to is that flow, fascia lymph, optimize your wellness is a technique and a paradigm, a philosophy that we know you've got to open up your blockades to healing, open up your fascia and your lymph through the dental piece and the scars, helping that, right? And then you'll optimize your wellness. And then you need to figure out, do you need to restore, maintain, or enhance? And at which level? On the physical, the emotional, or the vibrational level? Right. This is the 6-month program with 12 modules. And I explained it all to Ian. I said, I got it. And I was like, oh my God, and this module is going to be this. And it's taking all of our 18 years of everything we know that we've given everybody in about 2 to 3 years. We're going to be able to give it to them in a virtual program in 6 months, including coaching and workshops and health coaches. And I'm so excited about it. But I have no name for it. I don't know what the heck I'm going to call it. True Wellness, it can't call it that. That's our brick and mortar. Like, what are we going to call it? And y'all, in 5 minutes, he walks back in the room and says,
The cure.
The cure. I'm like, oh my God, constantly up Regulate ecosystems, because that's what it is. It's about constantly up-regulating your ecosystem. What we have done, what we have learned through the European approach, what we have laid the groundwork with, at least for me, for 24 years, I'd say him for a bit longer, because I think he's always lived BioRegulatory in the house he grew up in, is that we know how to constantly upregulate our ecosystem. I mean, I said to Jobot today too, like Jobot and I are exactly the same age. We're 6 months apart. Right. We're both 47. We've known him for 16 years. Right. He hasn't aged, nor have I. And if you didn't have that darn white beard, which I'm so not a fan of, if you didn't have that darn white beard, you wouldn't have looked like you've aged in those same years. Yeah. Yet 16 years has gone, 18 years has gone by since we met Drobot. Yeah. And we've not aged because we constantly upregulate our ecosystem. This isn't a fad that we do a diet for a week and then we lose weight and gain weight, or, oh, I'm going to go outside and get some vitamin D. It is constantly doing this.
It's just a lifestyle. It's not a different lifestyle. It's just a way to approach a specific lifestyle that works more towards keeping us healthy as opposed to reacting to being sick. So it's more of a proactive experience. And I think a lot of our clients over the years have attempted to and have engaged in this idea of, let me be proactive, let me spend time and energy and money maintaining or enhancing my health, and not just reacting to the fact that, oh my gosh, I'm suddenly sick. And it's the old idea of, typically in the Western world, we don't fix anything till it's broken. Right. But if we maintain things, if we maintain our cars appropriately, and everyone likes maintaining their cars, because we know if we don't maintain the car, it's going to break down, cost us a lot of money to get it repaired. So it's better to change the oil every 7,000 miles, right?
But he was not on the podcast with me with Drobot, but I'm telling you, listen next week, you're going to feel like he was.
How many times do we change our oil for ourselves, right? How many times do we actually do something that's going to enhance or optimize our health, so that I don't have to worry about the idea of, oh, if I get sick, what happens? If I get sick, my body's going to deal with that. My body's going to have fevers appropriately. I'm going to feel bad appropriately. I'm going to go through an illness appropriately. And then guess what? Just like my father said many, many years ago, 60 years ago, oh, you're sick? Great. It's going to make you stronger.
Oh,
it's going to make you stronger.
Drop that. Hold on. Getting sick makes you stronger.
Sure.
Boy, I'll tell you what.
Survival of the sickest.
My illness of the first 18 years, 20 years of my life before, 23 years of my life before I met you, 20 years before I met my fate of the car accident, if you will. I was very sick. I had allergies, I had asthma, I had acne, I had irregular cycles and misery in an emotional mood perspective. I was angry, bitter, resentful, pretty much every liver emotion you had. And I had all the sad ones too. Yeah, grief, crying, and anguish. So then enter Ian, and I started to live a different way. I started to change my way, not only I thought about life, the way I lived my life. And now, as a constantly upregulating my ecosystem, I feel strong. I know, actually, all my regulatory testing says it. I look much better now than I did 18 years ago when he started regulatory testing. My CRT, my HRV, and my live blood is absolutely better. Absolutely. I'm more flexible in yoga. I'm more flexible in what I eat. I'm more flexible in our relationship. I'm more flexible as a mom, although he might argue that. I'm more flexible as an employer. I'm more flexible as a practitioner. I'm happier. I'm boundless energy. And this is me fighting something right now, by the way. I got on a plane about 7 days ago, and we're going to talk about that in a special bonus of what happened to me on the plane. But I was exposed to something on a plane, and I instantly went into action of upregulating my system. And what I want to say is that this virtual program, The Cure, and the Mini Cure Lymph, which is a 3-day program that's coming out soon. So watch out for that in your email. And if you aren't subscribed to our email, please go to NOTMEDSglobal.com and subscribe, or go to the True Wellness Center and subscribe to our newsletter so that you're privy to when this shows up, because we are only exposing our client base to this first run. After the Mini Cure is out to our community at a very reduced rate, because we are very grateful for each and every one of you for the last 18 years who have given us the responsibility to help you guide your life and your health. We do not take that responsibility lightly. That is why we are constantly educating and trying to find the best technology, the best way, the fastest way to help you upgrade. And it's why all those years ago, we gave up on our rigidity of, oh, machines don't work. Because now we've taken all that ancient wisdom, because there is great technology. It's why we go to Germany and Baden-Baden each year to find the cutting edge technology, why we have saunas and foot baths and vibration platforms and PMF technology and the Flow Prezzo and the Sound of Soul and the IMAET to assist our efforts in helping you upregulate your system to constantly upregulate your ecosystem, whether you're restoring, maintaining, or where we're at is optimizing and enhancing our fascia lymph, optimize our wellness so that we live in the flow state all the time. And, you know, we're not perfect. I mean, you know, we've been married now for 10 years and a business together for 18, living together for 20 some odd years. I forget how many, 21 years or something. We've had a lot of ups and downs, right? As Silas would say, she has a lot of ups and downs, but I still love her. But, you know, we're in the flow state, and meaning that we allow each other to change and grow. We allow our lives to change and grow. And because we constantly upregulate and use our tools, we can stay in this wonderful flow state. I'm the fourth wife and he's not going anywhere. So, you know, it's because we have learned and incorporate, not just learned, but we embody, we live this way. And we want it for you. And so if you're not local, this is going to be a virtual program. If you are local, it's a virtual program as well. But then you also have the capacity to come into one of our studios. Oops, almost gave that name. And we have 2 new studios available in Bluffton, South Carolina, and soon in Charleston, South Carolina, and soon 3 more to come really soon. And these are little studios where people can just use a few of our equipment. So they can do rapid flow with the rapid release technology. So they can do flow prezzos, foot baths, and vibration platforms. So I'm really excited about the mini cure. The mini cure of the 3-day lymph will be first, as I said, out to our community. And then we are going to be allowing this to all of my colleagues' communities, Dr. Shafter, Dr. Cartola, Dr. Geoffrey, Dr. Pompa, Dr. Pels, Ben Azadi. They all are wanting to share this with their community because they all want more information about the lymphatics. So the 3-day mini cure is the lymph cure. After that, we're doing a 3-day mini sleep cure. And after that, we're doing a 3-day mini immune cure to teach you how to constantly upregulate for your lymphatics, because it's a global system. So I'm just going to end with my favorite part of the IMAET when I was learning the IMAET. So when you set somebody up on the IMAET the first time, you have 4 programs that you take them through. The first one is brain.
Mother's brain, lymph.
Oh, wait, what's the second one? Back up.
Lymph.
And why lymph is second? Because you can go anywhere from the lymph system.
Right.
So the first is getting the autonomic nervous system, the brain, and it's of our same philosophy.
Right.
The autonomic nervous system has to respond and regulate. You cannot have a blockade. You cannot have a scar that's blockading your autonomic nervous system. You cannot have a dental foci, a dental blockade that's blocking your nervous system. Once that's assessed, and for those of you who did vial work with iron, what's the first vial? Brain body formula, because you've got to get the brain and the body to communicate through the autonomic nervous system. Once that's working, where do you go? The lymph. Because you can go anywhere. That's all I wanted. Okay. The lymph, because you can go everywhere from the lymph system. And that's why we're starting with a 3-day mini cure. If you've been around True Wellness for 18 years, you probably don't know about NOTMEDS. NOTMEDS Global is our virtual presence where I sell 2 pieces of equipment, Flow Prezzo and Sound the Soul, to other practitioners to allow them to help people become in the flow state. It's also where we offer our series formulas, which we are now the proud owners of series, very proud owners of series, which is the Swiss company. And a lot of you have been on these products for a very long time. We know what company, we're so happy. We also there offer the podcast on a visual basis on the video. We also have a lot of free videos where we explain muscle tests. We explain why our approach is different. What's the difference between allopathic, integrative, functional, and bioregulatory medicine. What is that all about? That's what we're here. This is our educational arm. And that's another one I'm just going to end it with why this guy. So one of the amazing things about him, he's so talented in so many ways, but years ago when I was on a trip, because I had realized that I'd been supporting Ian in his mission for his life up until I was 43. And on my 43rd birthday, right before it, I said to Ian, I really appreciate what we've done. It's just not big enough for me. My mission has always been to turn medicine on its head and to turn it upside down. That was not necessarily Ian's mission. I wanted to turn medicine on its head. And I wasn't doing it, living in Bucks in Montgomery County and having an occasional person fly from across the world to come see us. It wasn't big enough for me, to be honest with you. So I said, I got to find out what my passion is. So I went on a trip, a spiritual journey, if you will, to find what I was missing. And on that first trip, I had what I would call a vision. I felt like I was knocked down on the ground. A colleague of mine called me and said, hey, Kel, I need a referral. I need somebody. I got a good friend of mine who's got cancer and they're in Connecticut. I'll never forget it. And I need a referral. And I went ballistic on this guy because this gentleman, Dr. Pascal is who it was. All of you know him. He's the one that introduced us to this European approach of biological medicine. And I said, David, that's what's wrong with this industry. There's no good network of practitioners and clients looking for the practitioners. I'm so fed up with that. I know a lot of people that took classes, but I don't know if they're really good. We need a vetting program to see if people are good. Right. And I was literally knocked on the ground like a movie was thrown in front of me. And I saw this incredible organization of practitioners that were oriented in this way, that were going to be able to help people and connect clients with practitioners that are really doing this work, because this is not an insurance model. People don't take insurance that do this work, because we know that the responsibility is yours for your health, not some third party. And I knew the name was NOTMEDS, because I knew it wasn't about medicine. And I came home and I said, Ian, I had this amazing vision. I was talking to David. He asked me for a referral, and I saw like this incredible group of people that are working in this way. And it's called NOTMEDS, but I have no idea what it stands for. He goes to the living room. He comes back like maybe 10 minutes later, and he goes, naturally oriented therapists, medically enlightened doctors and specialists. I was like, holy cow. But this is what good co-creation is about. This is what the flow state is about. It's simple and easy. Life is flow when you're on the right path and you're living your truth and you're living your vision, your core values. And we want that for every single one of you. That's why we created the Cure program. I am so appreciative of the time that each one of you gives us when you come to the center, the responsibility you give us, whether it's a Zoom phone call or, you've referring your friend and you want to tell us about it, or the email. We appreciate every single comment you make on this podcast. We completely appreciate you sharing our work with your friends and family. And this is our gift to you back, that you have the capacity in your hands to know you will own this program. And we don't have much more information about than that, but more than anything, we just wanted to share with you what we've been up to, what's changed, how True Wellness and NOTMEDS are really working together to bring this global message to the world, and what we've really been up to.
It couldn't be a better time to do it. God, it's needed.
It is so needed.
Right?
It is so needed. So thank you all, truly, from our heart to yours. We bring you the cure.